Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 368, Mariposa.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation is brought to you by GameToppersLLC.com. The enhancement of the Game Topper to your game space is compared with nothing else. I've decorated my game room, I've put awesome lights in, I've got stuff on the walls, but nothing compares to the Game Topper that I have. Nothing. It is awesome to play games on. Improves your game experience in every single way. Tons of different mats, themes that you can go with, have all different sizes that will match and fit your gaming space, whether it be large or small. Check them out, GameToppersLLC.com. You won't be disappointed.
And 3.0 is in Kickstarter right now.
Great opportunity to get a Game Topper. And like you mentioned, Andy, it is by far the best gaming accessory, even comparing it to a game that I've bought. Nothing has improved my game night experience more than the Game Toppers. And we have kind of a small gaming spot here. It's a nice little private, quiet corner. We fit 2 Watsons in here with 560 board games as well. Nothing enhances the night more than having the Game Topper.
And the reason why that is you get to use your Game Topper with every single game you play.
Yeah, I mean, it is used every time, yeah.
Check them out. Check out the Kickstarter 3.0 and check out their website, GameToppersLLC.com.
We are your hosts of Meeple Nation. I am Nathan Howard.
I am Dave Holliday.
I'm Logan Howard.
And I am Andy Holliday.
This week, we're talking about Mariposa. Mariposa, new game, came out 2020. It's a game for 2 to 5 players, playable in 45 to 75 minutes for 14 and above. I think this game really kind of reaches a wide audience. On Board Game Geek, it gives it a weight of 2.1 out of 5, which means it's not going to be one of those games that's going to scare a lot of people away.
I think it's just complicated enough to make it interesting. And like you said, not too complicated to scare people away like Everdell.
It's not a bit of a sensitive subject for Logan.
I just need to make sure that I have like a nice audio book or something next time we play so I can pass, and then just like...
Next time we play, you're going to be all over it. But we need to make sure we're clear on this. This game isn't about one butterfly, one mariposa. It's about many, so it's mariposas.
Yes, I think my favorite thing about this game probably is that it was designed by Elizabeth Hargrave. What else is she known for having designed?
She's the designer of Wingspan and also Tusi Musi, but she's most notably known for Wingspan.
Right, which is a game that all of us, I think, thoroughly enjoyed.
Are still enjoying.
Talked about it a lot. Mariposas is a new one that came out last year, and we've been able to get it to the table, and we found it enjoyable. Some of the things that stuck out with Wingspan, the detail, the amount of effort that you can obviously tell that she put into the game. And I think she did a great job of putting in a lot of detail on this one as well.
As much as Elizabeth did with designing this game, I would actually like to give props out to the artist, Indy Maverick. This game is just beautiful. I love the colors of it. I love the details with the little butterflies for the little wood pieces. You look at the board, and it's a very pretty board. It has bright colors.
Yeah, I agree.
Every spring, millions of monarch butterflies leave Mexico to spread out across eastern North America. Every fall, millions fly back to Mexico. However, no single butterfly ever makes the round trip. Mariposas is a game of movement and set collection that lets players be part of this amazing journey. It's played over 3 seasons. Your butterflies head north in the spring, spread out in the summer, and then return south in the fall. The end of each season brings a scoring round. At the end of the fall, the player with the most successful family of butterflies is the winner.
One of the things in that little description it mentioned is that no one butterfly makes it there and back. And that's one of the things I think that she did a good job of in this game when I talked about the details. When you set out, you have one butterfly, and it's a level 1 butterfly. There's a little 1 printed on the back of it. One of the actions that you can do when you have collected enough things and you're on one of the appropriate spaces, you gain a level 2 butterfly, indicating that it propagated throughout the game. You do that. By the end of the game, you have level 4 butterflies. After the first season, your level 1 butterflies are going to go away. Again, it's not like a sad death. It's celebrating the life cycle of these beautiful creatures.
I thought it was a really interesting mechanic. As you populate and as you get more butterflies and different level of butterflies, you get more actions to collect more stuff. But it was a constant thing to upgrade the butterflies to get more actions. You also had to, each season, get higher and higher level butterflies. It wasn't just a one-time thing. I'm going to extend myself and get up 2 level 2s and call it good for a little while. It was something you constantly had to do.
And for each generation butterfly, the cost to move on to the next generation is increased. To move on from a first generation butterfly to a second generation butterfly takes 2 flowers that are matching, or any 3 flowers at all. Every subsequent generation up to generation 4 is the same. You need to go up to generation 3, you need 3 matching flowers or 4 of any flower you want. Generation 4, same thing. 4 matching flowers or 5. The cool thing about these butterfly tokens, the generation 4 butterflies, if you flip the token over, there's actually 2 butterflies on the backside. So you can actually do another upgrade. Costs the same thing as doing a generation 4. It's 4 or 5 of anything. It actually counts as 2 butterflies if you're able to get it back down to Mexico, to Michoacan, at the end of the game.
I think they have like one of the more unique every season gold token scoring I've seen in a game. Board, it starts in Mexico, and as it said in the description, trying to go up to the northeastern side of the United States. It has goals like, if all of your butterflies are above Atlanta, you get points. If all your butterflies are to the east of Houston, you get so many points.
Once again, where I think she's put a lot of thought into it, because she's looked at how these butterflies migrate and when, and that is really how she's based these goals in spring, summer, and fall, based on the actual migratory habits of the monarch butterfly. Once again, the details she's put into it, kind of like she did with Wingspan, is really quite impressive. You can tell that she's put a lot of thought into it and has studied it out enough to make it so it's very thematic and works quite well.
In this game, movement is pretty simple. You begin the game with 2 different movement cards. I mean, they might not be different, but 2 movement cards. Your turn is playing one of those cards, moving your butterfly according to how that movement card says. And then depending on where you stop, you're going to stop generally on a flower. There are 5 different flower types. You gain a token representing that flower type. If you land next to a milkweed, that's one of the areas where you can advance to the next generation of butterfly if you meet those requirements. And then at the end of your turn, after moving and collecting and all of that, you draw another movement card. So you're always going to basically have 2 and choose one of the 2 movement cards in order to move. And there's a lot of different ones as far as movement goes. There's some cards that are just move 5 spaces forward, pretty straightforward. There's one that is move a butterfly 2 spaces, and then move a butterfly 2 spaces. And that's just all on the same card. So it can be the same one or a different butterfly.
It's you move to collect, move to collect what you land on. So if you only have 1 butterfly you're moving, you're still able to collect twice with that card.
Right. There's another one, for example, that's move 4 and then collect, but also collect one of the adjacent hexagonal spaces, the flower represented on an adjacent hexagon. And there's a movement card that is move butterfly 1 space, collect, and then move a butterfly 3 spaces. And then my personal favorite, move a butterfly 1, collect, move a butterfly 1, collect, and move a butterfly 1, and collect again.
And that's how you cheat and get all your resources.
Yes. When you play the card, it sits in front of you until the end of the season. There's another card that says reuse an action card that you have already played. So you could effectively just copy one of those awesome cards that you really enjoyed.
Each of these hexagonal spaces, they have a flower. Most of them have a flower. There are some that are actually cities, and those are called way stations in the game. Those way stations will have random tiles that get put out. There's a separate board to the side. It's called the way station board. On that board, there'll be 12 total cards, 4 of each symbol in each column. So there's green, red, and blue. The way you will gain a card off of that is by ending your butterfly's movement on a way station that matches that color and artwork that's on that card. Now, if you collect all the cards in one column, then there are tiles. Tiles are random that get put out, and you're going to gain the benefit of that tile if you've collected everything in that column. There's other things in way stations as well. There are 3 way stations that actually give you bonus movement cards. They're one-time use, and you can use them along with a regular movement card. It will allow you to move some extra spaces, maybe get some extra resources. So one of the movement cards, 1 movement and collect to one of your movement cards. Another one adds move 2, collect, and then move 3 and collect. And then the final one adds 2 movement to one of your cards, but doesn't add a collection. Those were super helpful. Just being able to move, especially later in the game in summer when you're trying to get that goal, which is typically trying to get further north. For example, one of the cards is you get 2 points for every butterfly you have north of Chicago. Well, that is almost at the top of the board. Having that extra movement and getting as many butterflies up there as you can is super helpful. But come fall, you're way up north. Now you got to get all the way back down to Michoacan with your 4th generation butterflies.
One of the things that I felt like game that I won was getting back to Michoacan was maybe the most important part of it. That's I think where I scored most of the points that put me ahead. Down in Michoacan, it tells you there's a table that says how many points you get depending on how many butterflies you have down there. If you get 1 butterfly back, it's 3 points. 2 is worth 7 points. 3 is 12, and so on, up to 6 for 24 points. For me, that was kind of the thing that I had set out to do, and so I kind of bailed on some of the end-of-season goals because I didn't think that I'd be able to get there, accomplish those goals, and get back. For me, that felt like it was a good... But I also made that decision based on some of the previous end-of-season goals where I was able to score a lot of points because I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like 2 points for every butterfly that is west of Lawrence. And so I was like, you know what, if I just keep them all right here, I'm going to score a bunch of points here, and then I should be able to get a significant number back to Michoacan. So at the end of each season, the goals that are out there, there's a bunch of different ones. So spring has 5 possible goals, summer has 10 possible goals, and then fall has another 5 possible goals. Again, I always love when they have randomness of what's going to be there because it changes the gameplay.
Variety is awesome in any game.
Absolutely. That's a huge, huge, huge thing for me.
Especially with something like this where you determined I got enough points in my mid goal that I don't need to try really hard for the summer goal. I just need to get my butterflies out of there. I like that where it changes strategy.
Right.
I could heavy load the first goal and get a pretty competitive score to you. I might not win, but who knows? Depends on how it ends up throughout the game.
Another thing to keep in mind, and I noticed this, you're spreading your butterflies out. Kind of like what you said, Dave. You need to keep in mind that where you need to go the next season, and you kind of kept your butterflies a little bit further to the south, knowing that you needed to go to Michoacan. In the example that we were looking at where you have to have your butterflies north of Chicago at the end of summer, well, your Generation 2 butterflies are going to die off at the end of summer. You don't plan on or haven't gotten them up to Generation 3. Those are the perfect butterflies to have north of Chicago. You're going to score the points for them. They're gone anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then keep your Generation 3s a little bit further south so that you can get them bumped up to Generation 4 and even maybe do that twice to get 1 butterfly token worth 2 butterflies and have an easier time to get those down to Michoacan. There's definitely a lot of strategy to it, and paying attention to which generation butterfly is where on the board I think is key.
Oh, that's huge. The last time we played, I wasn't focusing on that at all. I was focusing on trying to evolve my butterflies as quick as I could. Because I was focusing too much on that, I ended up missing most of those bonus scores, and then I only got a couple of my butterflies back to Michoacan. Definitely hit me in the score pile. Because I wasn't having that movement, I was more on gathering resources to advance those butterflies. You can't just focus on moving those butterflies. You got to diversify, and exactly like you're saying, Andy, if you're moving those second generation up there because they're not on the same token as the 3rd and 4th generation ones, it makes sense to spread those out and to plan ahead. Definitely plan better than I planned.
Sometimes it's not necessarily just planning. It's like Andy was saying, these butterflies are going to die at the end of this season. I don't necessarily need to focus on upgrading these guys. It's not like you lost by a super drastic amount last time we played anyway. I mean, you lost, but it wasn't super terrible.
That was half of Dave's points.
Some of the goals that are out here that come out, in spring and summer, the hexagons, and it's by region, are color-coded. For example, one of the goals is you need to have 3 butterflies on a yellow hexagon, an orange hexagon, and a green hexagon. That means, once again, you're going to need to spread your butterflies out to be able to score those points, and that's worth 4 points. So it's interesting looking at these goals, because some goals are just a base point. If you meet this criteria, you're going to get these points, versus others are you gain a certain number of points for each butterfly that meets the criteria. Like Dave said, there's different goals that come out every single time. The difference in gameplay is awesome. The location of the random tiles that come out on the waypoints also will change the game around a little bit. And not to mention, on the waystation board, the benefits you gain, the bonuses you gain for filling up that row, that's also random. So you'll get different abilities every single game that you'll be able to take advantage of as you're hitting those waystations and gaining those cards. I just love that. It's great. In reference to the way stations, so the way stations start out face down. The tiles start out face down. You don't know what is where. If you're the first person to land a butterfly on that way station, you get to flip the token over at that way station. You gain the benefit. There's also a 6-sided die that has one of each flower type on it and a wild. So you'll roll that die if you're the first person to land there. You gain whatever flower gets rolled, and you gain the benefit of that way station. Looking at the board, it's kind of neat because they have a few of the hexagons where you actually gain 2 flowers for one space.
Which is kind of a deceptive thing. For me, I ran into that issue where I kept trying to get to those way stations first. Apparently I was always following Dave. Dave always was able to get there the turn before, so he'd get that extra bonus. Then my second objective was to try to get the double flowers to once again advance my generation of butterflies to the next generation. Sometimes the double bonus is worth it. Sometimes you're just kind of chasing your tail. Do butterflies have tails? Cool.
Chasing your abdomen.
Chasing your abdomen. You're just fluttering in a circle trying to get those bonuses, really kind of hampering yourself instead of just focusing on maybe some of the other things. The bonus flowers are nice, and definitely getting to the way station, getting that bonus is for sure very nice. But I guess my suggestion, don't make it your priority to count on those.
And the double flower locations are out of the way. They're very far east or extreme north. Typically, to get those double flower areas, you're really spreading yourself out. Now, that can be beneficial depending on what cards are out there. If you have a high generation butterfly, it can make it extremely difficult to get that butterfly back to Michoacan in time.
That was one of the things, again, with the strategy that I was able to build with the last play, was there's 3 spots west of Lawrence that have double flowers. And so I hit those 3 spots multiple times while I was just deciding, you know what, I'm just going to get a ton of resources right now, and I'll be hanging out west of Lawrence. I'll get a bunch of points here, and then I'll just try and hightail it back. It was beneficial, especially having some of the movement cards that I had at the time where I was able to score, move, and collect 3 different times. A couple of those spots are 3 different spots away from me, so I was able to, with one card, collect 5 flowers.
Which was huge.
Yeah, it was great. And again, because of the cards that were out there, I was able to say, you know what, I'm going to bank on the Lawrence thing because there's a bunch of those right there fairly close to Lawrence, and they're all west of it. Worked out great.
It's not like an end-all if you can't get to the way stations to get the extra resource either. When we played with Amara, she wanted to get the bonuses for getting all the cards. So she was uncovering a lot of the way stations. It helped me because I wasn't super concerned with hitting all the way stations, but she uncovered the way stations that I liked, so I could be like, okay, well, I'm going to extend myself to Toronto to get the extra cool movement card because I want to get that for my 4th generation butterflies to get them back to Mexico. If you're not the first one there, it's not always the end of the world. I mean, the extra resource would have been nice, but I was like, Nate, never got it.
At least for me, the way stations that gave you the bonus movement cards, far more helpful than all the other ones.
Movement is key.
Yeah.
Especially where you can use that in addition to your other cards for the turn.
So you can really have an amazing turn, especially if you use David's favorite card where you get to stop 3 different times and maybe play the bonus card that lets you stop an additional 2 times. You can really rake in the resources in just one turn and move a substantial amount at the same time.
Right.
This game frustrated me the last time we played. I was always scavenging for my resources, maybe because I was spending them too quick. Dave just had a stockpile of resources. It made me mad how many resources you had and how many I did not have.
Wasn't he sitting next to the resources?
He was, yeah. So
convenient.
It's the same way in most games.
The board has to be facing him and the bank has to be near him.
And you can't pay too close of attention.
I like in this game, much like Wingspan, the way the box comes. It's kind of funny that that's such a highlight to me.
Right.
But it is. A box that fits the components in it and fits them well. Stronghold Games has these very nice holders that have lids on them that stack up really nice to be able to store the different resources in. Wingspan has a similar thing.
They definitely took this above Wingspan. These are all embossed with the butterfly on them. Took those to even a new level, above and beyond what Wingspan did. Which I love that Wingspan came with those.
Look at Wingspan and the card holders, but this doesn't really have that type of a need like Wingspan did. But still, the little touches like that enhance the game so much. Overall, the game is really simple. You talked about it earlier, Dave, where it had a 2.1 out of 5 complexity. It does. It's a fairly simple game to play, very simple game to learn However, there is a level of strategy that shines in a simple game, which is a highlight for me. I love games where it's not just a simple ABC move. There is complexity, there's strategy, there's loads of options that you can take, different paths. And we talk about the games that we've played and how those have been different and how some of my strategies have been bad and some of Dave's strategies have been good. And some of Dave's cheating and hoarding of resources. We don't really think you cheated, Dave, but it did make me mad.
Makes me mad in a lot of games. So it's a common thing.
Overall, the game shines because of the simpleness of it with the strategy. I mean, look at Wingspan's very similar. It's a very simple game to learn, very simple actions that you can take. This is just move and collect resources. Move and collect resources, upgrade your butterfly. Collect those bonuses at the end of the seasons. Arranging all that is huge.
I think that my biggest complaint about games that are simple like that is there's usually one path to victory and it's an obvious one. And the person that best does that path to victory wins. I think that this overcomes that with the number of gold cards they have. The fact that, yeah, maybe last game you won by doing a certain thing, but the gold cards are going to dictate how exactly you're going to score points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, overall, yes, you want to get your level 4 butterflies back to Michoacan, but there's a lot of points to be had with just the gold cards. Even though the game's simple, there's enough variety with the gold cards that there's not just a clear path. This is what you have to do to win.
In conjunction with that, the movement cards you get, it's all random. Even if you're trying to apply the same strategy, you're not going to get the triple stop card that David got to get all those resources. So you're going to have to adjust just from that point what movement cards you have at the time, almost dictating if I can accomplish that goal, what am I going to do to adjust to that? I love that where, as you said, it's not one path to victory. Who's going to do it better, you or me, because, oh, you got one spot further than I did, so you're going to win the game.
Yeah, you got lucky. You got this card, and I needed that card, and therefore you won. I definitely think she mitigated that very nicely with the randomness of the setup, the goals in the game. And like Logan said, with just the fact that movement cards come out different. It's very well done.
Some of them are huge from being able to move 4 spots. That card's okay at the beginning, but the last round, huge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see the cards that are absolutely the ones you want at the beginning of the game are the ones you absolutely do not want necessarily at the end of the game. That move the butterfly 3 different times, Dave's favorite card, is still beneficial at the end of the game because you can move one single butterfly 3 times, collect resources, and possibly even land on a milkweed spot to upgrade that while it's coming back down to Michoacan. Some of the cards are still beneficial.
I remember last time we played, I had a butterfly that did not escape, and it was only by like 1 or 2 spots. So if I would have got Dave's favorite card and only got me to that point, or I could have got the 4 or 5 movement, I would have much rather the 4 or 5 movement.
Right, yeah.
Because upgrading my butterfly didn't mean anything if he didn't make it all the way back to Mexico.
That is true. But it also doesn't mean anything if it's a level 3. There's definitely a balance between what you're doing, whether you're moving or gathering resources.
Final thoughts. Dave, what are your final thoughts?
I enjoyed the game. I thought it was enjoyable to play. It was a good gameplay. I like the variety in the scoring methods. I love when I can explore different strategies. This is a game that really makes you have to do that. Visually appealing. It's a good game. If we're ranking it with Wingspan, I probably prefer Wingspan, but definitely a very good game.
I would agree with that. I think Wingspan is a better game, but I don't think she was trying to design the game that's going to be better than Wingspan. She was just designing a good game. It's exactly what she did. Didn't have to be super complex, so it wasn't. I think it's very approachable, which some other games, that's where they fail at being approachable, trying to get people to sit down and play with you. Sometimes you just don't have time for a big, long game. Mariposas, wonderful.
I would agree with you there. The simplicity of this makes it more accessible. I also agree with both of you that I enjoy Wingspan more. I think it says a lot to the designer because of the fact that she's created such an awesome game in Wingspan that things are getting compared to that. I would always be willing to play it. But if I had to choose between this game or Wingspan, I think I would always pick Wingspan. I love the fact that she pretty much put the attention to detail in as far as how the monarch butterflies migrate, the gold cards, and everything else, and how their life cycle goes. I think that the amount of thought put into it is great. Right up there with Wingspan. Gameplay, I prefer Wingspan more, comparing the two. But once again, the simplicity of it is great, along with the depth of strategy, along with that level of simplicity. It's a good mix.
So we're not here to necessarily compare this to Wingspan, but we do make a lot of references because they're both extremely well-designed games. This game I really enjoy. I'm not very good at it. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy the game. We've all talked about it, the simplicity, the approachability of this game. The ease to teach and the complexity of the game makes it ideal. It allows you to have both quick plays, teach somebody new, but provide a challenge. For me, that just shines.
Going along with that, people that have played it multiple times are not going to get bored with it. So there's going to be enough strategy to it. You're not going to be, oh, we're playing this again, I'm just going to do same game we've always played. I don't think that's the case.
The variety of it, the variety of the end of season goal cards provides a lot of replayability.
It's probably because I'm not a very good player, but like Everdell, when I played that one time, I was totally outclassed. I'd bring a new player in, play this game, they would be right up there competing with me. There'd be a little bit of strategy that I know before them. I feel it'd be a very competitive game with people that have played this game before and people that haven't, and I like that.
The only thing I can see that may not be the case is paying attention to which generation butterflies are where on the map, and maybe getting a little blinded by trying to land on the way stations. A new player might not see the importance of versus someone who's played the game before.
It's obvious that we all enjoyed the game. We recommend it. Go check it out.
Mariposas by Elizabeth Hargrave.
And Stonemeyer Games. Until next time.
We'll see you watching the butterflies flutter on by.